Good morning, dear learners. Today, in this new video, we are going to learn about credit creation by the commercial banks. This is a very interesting lesson only because with this lesson we can better have a knowledge about money supply and the way commercial banks multiply the deposits and how commercial banks create credit and expand the money supply in the economy. So, dear students, in this lesson, we have already read about money earlier, and the introduction part of the banking is already completed. So, in this today's lesson, we are entering to credit creation. So, before entering to the credit creation, we need to know why the commercial banks should create credit. What is the need? So here the commercial banks are called as the factories of the credit. As we all know that factory is a production center. Likewise, commercial banks are the production centers of credit. The way the commercial banks create credit, it increases the money supply in the economy. So uh, they advance much more than what they collect from the people in the form of deposits. Generally, in our class 10, we have read the banking function in money and credit lesson. That is what the banks usually do. Banks have basically two functions that we have read in class 10. That is, in one way, the bank receives the deposits or the surplus money with the public, and the bank keeps it with itself, and on the other way bank advances loan to the borrowers from these deposited monies. So here, is it that if the bank receives 100 rupees, only the bank can advance 100 rupees of loan? Let's know the entire concept in this lesson. So they advance not only 100 rupees, much more than what they collect from the people in the form of deposits. So through the process of the credit creation, commercial banks provide finance to all sectors of the economy. So actually credit is very necessary for economic activities. Hence, these commercial banks provide financial support to different sectors of the economy and making them financially able to perform their activities and make the economy more developed one than before. So this is the basic reason that we are in need for credit creation. Now, the what the basic credit creation comes from? The basic credit money is the bank's deposit. Credit money generally comes from the bank's deposits, and here we have bank have only two types of deposits. One is the primary deposits and another is derivative deposits. So when we are talking about primary deposit and derivative deposit, actually these are the key terms which will help us in knowing better the credit creation part of the commercial banks. So let's first know what is a primary deposit and what is a derivative deposit. So first of all, coming to primary deposits, as we know that whenever people have money more than their requirement, they generally park it with the commercial banks. So primary deposit arise or formed when cash or check is deposited by the customers. So when a person deposits money or check, the bank will create his account first, and the customer is free to withdraw the amount whenever he wants with the help of a check. So these deposits are otherwise called as checkable deposits. So these deposits are called primary deposits or cash deposits. Now the primary deposit, it is out of these primary deposit that the bank can advance loans or give advances to its customers. So primary deposit is the principal source of any other activity of the bank. So the initiative is taken by the customer here. So who is depositing? The customer is depositing. In this case, what is the role of the bank? Is nothing. Simply the bank is receiving the money. So who is playing the active role? Active role is being played by the customer. Bank is passive here. Hence, such primary deposits are called as passive deposits. Now coming to derivative deposits. What is derivative deposits? Banks bank deposits also arise when a loan is granted, when a bank discounts a bill or purchase government securities. So we are discussing here three things. One is when loan is granted, when discounting a bill or purchases government securities. So deposits which arise on account of granting loan, purchase of assets by a bank are called derivative deposits. Since the bank plays an active role, here the active role is being played by the commercial banks. How? Because in creation of such deposits, the commercial banks are active, they create an account, and these derivative deposits are created by the commercial banks. Hence, the active action is being done by the commercial banks. Hence, these derivative deposits or secondary deposits are called as active deposits. Here, the customer is passive. Who is active? The commercial banks are active. Hence, these derivative deposits are called as active deposits. Now coming to credit creation. What credit creation refers to? So when we are talking of credit creation is the power of the commercial bank to expand the deposits in multiple times. Again I am telling, credit creation when we are talking, it is the power of the commercial banks to expand the deposits in multiple number of times. So when the bank buys government securities, it does not pay the purchase price at once in cash. So what it does? It simply credits the account of the government with the purchase price. The government is free to withdraw the amount whenever it wants by check. The power of the commercial bank to expand these deposits through loans, through advances, and through investments is known as credit creation. So this third point is the definition of credit creation. Here the power of the commercial bank to expand these deposits through loans, advances, and investment is known as credit creation. So here we are not talking to banks one individually. Here the banking system is a whole, is a unit in totality that can create credit which is several times more than the original increase in the deposits of the bank. So this process is called the multiple expansion or multiple creation of credit. So here whatever is the primary deposit, banks are capable of creating multiple number of derivative deposits. Hence this process is called as multiple creation of a credit. So similarly, if there is withdrawal, so as there is a deposit, there is creation of credit or expansion of credit. Similarly, if there will be a withdrawal from any bank, it will lead to the process of multiple contraction of credit. So dear learners, keep it in your mind. Generally our reference books are talking about deposit of primary deposits, but the very less number of books are talking about what will happen if there is a withdrawal. So for your information, if there is a withdrawal, it leads to process of multiple contraction of credit. Credit will be contracted, reduced. So now coming to the process of credit creation, the process of multiple credit creation can be illustrated with certain assumptions. So first assumption, that we are assuming all the banks as a unit, they are together. We are not dealing the banks individually. The banking system as a whole is one. Second thing, all the transactions are routed through banks. All the transactions are only routed through banks. So the existence of a number of banks like A, B, C, etc. Here we are assuming, each with different set of depositors. Everyone has its own depositors, and every bank, suppose, is keeping 10% as the cash reserve ratio. Suppose, and a new deposit comes that is worth rupees 1000 with bank A. So we are starting with bank A. Initial deposit is 1000 rupees and the cash reserve is 10%. We are starting with this assumption. Now let's see how the things will proceed. So suppose a person deposits rupees 1000 cash in bank A. As a result, the deposit of bank A increases by rupees 1000 and cash also increases by rupees 1000. Here the balance sheet of a bank is mentioned here. In the balance sheet we have two sides. One is the liability side, another is the asset side. So what is an asset, what is a liability? Asset means all those sources from which we can generate income, they are assets. And where money may go out, they are liabilities. So here 1000 rupees of primary deposit that comes is entered in a liability side only because in lieu of this 1000 of a deposit, the bank has issued a check to the depositor. So hence these deposits are called as checkable deposits. So bank is liable to pay 1000 rupees when the depositor asks for. Hence the deposit of 1000 rupees is mentioned in the liability side, and in the asset side that we have a new cash that is 1000 rupees. Hence the total liability is 1000 and asset is 1000. Now under this double entry system, the amount of this 1000 is shown on both the sides. Now what will happen? As we have assumed that there is 10% of cash reserve, and hence the initial deposit was 1000, new cash was 1000. Now from the new cash, 10% is earmarked as cash reserve ratio. So here 100 rupees is the new cash, and from the remaining 900 rupees, bank A can advance loan to X. So here bank A advances loan to X. So dear learners, we need to know what is a cash reserve ratio. Cash reserve ratio is a ratio of the total deposit of the bank that they keep as a reserve. So here 100 rupees is kept as reserve, and cash reserve ratio is always kept with the central bank of the country, that is RBI. So here 100 rupees is kept as a new cash, and now bank A can advance a loan worth 900 rupees. Hence secondary deposit is 900 rupees. If you look at the balance sheet here, the liability is 1000. In the asset side, new cash is 100, loan to X is 900. So taken together asset is 1000. Now suppose what X does, suppose X purchases goods of worth rupees 900 from Y and pays in cash. X pays to Y in cash and Y deposited the amount in bank B. So how it will function? So the deposit of a bank B now increases by 900 rupees. By 900 rupees. That is, and its cash also increases. Whenever there is a deposit of 900 rupees, there will be cash of also 900 rupees. So after keeping 10% of this 900, that is 90 rupees as cash reserve ratio, bank B can also advance loan to person Z. That is 810 rupees. So initial deposit in bank B was 900, which is equivalent to the secondary deposit of a bank A. And from this 900, 10% cash reserve is kept, that is 90 rupees. And now bank B can advance 810 rupees of loan to Z. So again look at the balance sheet. Balance sheet of bank B, liability is 900. In the asset side, new cash is 90 and the loan to Z is 810. So taken together 900. Now process of in the bank B is over. Now bank B has given loan to Z. Suppose Z purchases goods of the value rupees 810 from S and pays the amount. Now S deposits these 800 rupees in bank C. So what will happen? How it will operate now? So bank C now keeps 10% as a reserve, that is 81 rupees, and rest 729 rupees is left with bank C, and bank C can lend this 729 to a merchant. The balance sheet of bank C will be 810 rupees as the liability, and in the asset side 81 rupees as the cash reserve, 729 as the amount that bank C advances loan to a merchant. Hence the total assets of a bank C is 810 and liability is also 810. Now we have learned the three banks. So let's see all the three banks in one schedule. So thus looking at the banking system as a whole, the position will be here as shown in this table. So here bank A, we have started with bank A, where a primary deposit of worth 1000 came and cash reserve ratio is 10%, hence 100 rupees is kept as a reserve. Now bank A created second derivative deposit of worth 900 rupees, gave loan of 900. That 900 loan went to bank B from X paid to Y and Y deposited in bank B, and the primary deposit of bank B is 900. Now bank B has to keep 10% as its reserve, that is 90, and now bank B can advance rest 90%, that is called 810, and this 810 of secondary deposit goes to bank C as Y paid to Z and Z deposited in bank C. So bank C has a primary deposit of 810 and 10% of it is 81 rupees as the cash reserve, and 729 rupees bank C advances a loan to the merchant. So now if you see the primary deposit total is 2710 and cash reserve is 271 and the loan advanced or secondary deposit is 2439. So here 2439 is 90% of the total primary deposit. 10% is our cash reserve, that is 271. So taken together 271 plus 2439 is 2710, which is equal to the primary deposit, that is 2710. Now how long this process will continue? Let's come here. Here the same table that we have discussed earlier, that is initial deposit of 1000 with a cash reserve 100, and bank A is creating secondary deposit 900, bank B primary deposit is 900, cash reserve 90, 10%, that is 90, and bank B can advance secondary deposit, that is 810, and the secondary deposit of 810 is the primary deposit of bank C with 10% as cash reserve, that is 81, and 729 it can advance as a loans. Likewise this process will continue. So how long this process will continue? As assumed, those who receive payment but the money back into these banks. In this way bank receives fresh deposits rupees 900, the bank again keeps 10%, that is 90. We have discussed all this, and in this way the money again comes back to the bank, leading to a fresh deposit. So the money goes on multiplying in this way. Process continues till the new deposit becomes nil. And always one thing we need to remember, whatever we are depositing, that is always the deposit, the bank keeps 10%, hence that derivative deposit created, that is 90% of the last deposit. As CRR is 10% we have taken, hence whatever secondary deposit is created, that is 90% of the last deposit. Now the money goes on multiplying in this way, and this process continues till a new deposit, the new deposits become almost nil. It cannot be nil, but it is almost nil, and it reaches to a position where it is meaningless, amount from which advances cannot be made or loans cannot be made, and ultimately total money creation would be 10,000. Then how it is? It depends upon the money multiplier. So total money creation would be equal to initial deposit into 1 upon LRR. Initial deposit into 1 upon LRR. So initial deposit was 1000. LRR is 10% and 1 by 10 by 100. So it is becoming 10,000. So total money created, that is 10,000. Here the money multiplier, what is the money multiplier? Money multiplier is 1 by LRR. Money multiplier is 1 by LRR, that is 10. Hence the money multiplier is 10, it means the initial deposit was 1000. Hence the total primary deposit would be 10 times of 1000, that is 10,000. The initial cash reserve is 100. Hence the final cash reserve would be 10 times of 100, that is 10,000. And the secondary deposit with the first round, that is 900, and multiplied by 10, that would be 9,000. So here total primary deposit is 10,000. Total cash reserve is 1000, that is 10 times of 100. And here the total secondary deposit or derivative deposit or the credit created is 9,000. 10 times of the first round of secondary deposit, that is 900. So now the total money created is 10,000, and it is the multiple by which, that is it is the money multiplier and the multiple by which total deposits increase due to the initial deposit. This is the process how a deposit of 1000 rupees created money of the total money creation is 10,000 rupees. So additional 9,000 rupees created in the process of money creation. Now the last part of this is limitations of a credit creation. So on how the credit creation is subject to certain conditions. Amount of cash. So the power to create credit depends upon the cash received by the bank. If the banks receive more cash, they can create more credit and vice versa. Next comes the cash reserve ratio. We have taken here 10%. Hence the credit multiplier is 10 and the total deposit is created 10 times. Suppose we change the cash reserves to 20%. Now the credit multiplier is 5. So how much it will be created? 1000 into 5, that the credit will be created, that would be 5,000. So as the cash reserve changes or the legal reserve changes, our credit creation capacity would be contracted. Actually our LRR has two components, one is cash reserve ratio and another is statutory liquidity ratio. So now coming to the banking habit of the people, it's the biggest factor. The loan advanced to a customer should again come back into the banks as primary deposit. If in between any customer kept the money with itself without depositing in the bank, then the process of credit creation would be stopped or would be limited. Hence, the better the banking habit of the people, credit creation would be better. Now, the nature of business condition of the economy is another factor. How? So, credit creation will be larger during a period of prosperity, while it will be smaller during depression. If economy is in a good condition, then there will be more credit creation. If economy is in depression, credit creation would be lesser. So now, there are some other points too. Leakage in the credit creation. The funds may not flow smoothly from one bank to another. Some people may keep a portion of their amount as idle cash. कुछ लोग तकिए के नीचे पैसा दबा के सो जाते हैं. So such are the leakage. The savings in the piggy banks or savings in our domestic boxes is a leakage, hence it should be discouraged. Now coming to sound securities, it is also another factor. A bank creates credit in the process of acquiring sound and profitable assets like bills and the government securities. Liquidity preference. If people desire to hold more cash, the power of the bank to create credit is reduced. If the people always prefer to have liquidity as their preference, then cash would be more with the public, and banks will have cash crunch. So monetary policy of the central bank is another important factor. The extent of the credit creation will largely depend upon the monetary policy of the central bank of the country. The central bank has the power to influence the volume of money in circulation, and through this it can influence the volume of credit created by the banks. So my dear students, in this video lesson we have started with credit creation, that is how the commercial banks receive primary deposit, and what is secondary deposit, from how the banks create credit using this primary deposit, and what are the limitations in the credit creation process. See you again, and thank you.